The table was set the way Maria always set it on Sundays, white cloth, candles lit even though it was barely 6 in the evening, Emma's chair pushed slightly closer to her mother's than anyone else's. For 1 hour a week, the Romano house pretended to be an ordinary house. "Pass the bread, Lucas," Sophia said, and Lucas did, without looking up from his plate, still carrying the weight of a conversation from 3 nights ago that he hadn't told anyone about. Don Romano sat at the head of the table, sleeves rolled to the elbow, a rare sight. His phone sat face down beside his plate, a rule Sophia had insisted on years ago and one he almost always broke by dessert. "Emma, tell your father what happened at school today," Sophia said, a gentle nudge, the kind mothers used to keep dinner conversation moving. Emma perked up immediately. "I said his dad works at a bank and carries a briefcase every day. I told him you don't carry a briefcase because you're more important than a bank." A short laugh escaped Don Romano, rare and real. "Did you now?" "I didn't say the other part," Emma added, matter of fact, stabbing a piece of chicken with her fork. "What other part?" "That Victor carries your briefcase for you. And it's not full of papers." The table went quiet for half a second too long. Sophia's fork paused mid-A. Lucas's eyes flicked up toward his father, waiting to see how he'd respond to a 7-year-old casually cracking open a door no one in this house was supposed to open at dinner. "Emma," Sophia said carefully, "eat your dinner." "I am eating my dinner." Don Romano said nothing, but something behind his eyes shifted, the particular stillness that meant he was filing the moment away, the way he filed everything away. Then the phone buzzed. Face down, it still lit up the tablecloth around its edges, a dull glow crawling out from underneath it like something trying to escape. Don Romano didn't move at first. Sophia's jaw tightened. "Don't," she said quietly. "Not tonight. It could be nothing. It's never nothing." The phone buzzed again. Then a third time, faster, more urgent, the rhythm of someone who wouldn't stop calling until they got an answer. "Don." Romano turned it over. The screen showed Victor's name. He answered without a word, just pressed it to his ear and listened. Sophia watched her husband's face the way she'd learned to over the years, not for words, because there rarely were many, but for the small movements around his eyes, the way his jaw set or loosened. This time, his jaw set hard. "Where?" he said. "Just that." A pause. "How many?" Another pause, longer this time. Lucas had stopped eating entirely now, watching his father with the same intensity he'd studied his grandfather's notebook a week earlier. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. Don Romano ended the call and set the phone down, screen still lit, forgotten. "Don," Sophia said, and it wasn't a question, it was a warning wrapped in a name. "I have to go." "You always have to go." "Sophia, it's Sunday." 1 hour, Don. "That's all I ask. 1 hour where this family gets to sit at a table and be a family, and not," she stopped herself, glancing at Emma, who had gone very quiet, watching the exchange with the particular alertness children develop when they've learned that quiet often means something is wrong. Don Romano stood, chair scraping against the floor, the same sound Emma had once described hearing through her bedroom wall at night. "Someone got into the East warehouse," he said, low enough that only Sophia was meant to hear it, though Lucas caught every word. "2 men down. I need to be there before the police are." Sophia's face didn't soften, but something in her shoulders dropped, the fight going out of her, replaced by the old, tired fear she rarely let anyone see. "Go," she said. "Just go." He crossed to her side of the table, bent down, and kissed the top of her head, a gesture so brief it might have been missed if Emma hadn't been watching for it. "Save me a plate," he said. "I always do." He paused at Lucas's chair next, hand landing briefly on his son's shoulder. Lucas looked up, and something passed between them, not words, but an understanding that had grown heavier since the night of the notebook. "Watch the house," Don Romano said, quiet enough that it felt like more than an instruction. "I will." At the doorway, Emma called out, "B.A., will you be back before I sleep?" He turned. For a moment, the man who had just been told 2 of his men were dead standing in a warehouse looked, instead, exactly like a father who didn't want to leave. "I'll try," he said. "Save me a piece of your bread too. I already ate all of it." A ghost of a smile. "Of course you did." Then he was gone, the front door closing with a sound far too soft for what it meant, and the dining room settled into a silence that candles alone couldn't warm. Sophia sat back down slowly, looking at the empty chair, the half-finished plate, the phone left dark and screen down where he'd set it. Emma reached over and took her mother's hand without being asked. "Is BA going to be okay?" "He's always okay," Sophia said, the answer worn smooth from years of repeating it, to Emma, to Lucas, and mostly to herself. Lucas said nothing. He was looking at the door his father had just walked through, thinking about warehouses and gunfire and a notebook full of a dead man's regrets, and wondering, for the first time with real clarity, exactly what kind of Sunday dinner he was going to inherit one day. Outside, the black car pulled away from the house, taillights shrinking into the dark, carrying Don Romano back into the world the family only ever glimpsed in fragments, a phone call, a scraped chair, a kiss on the head that always came with the unspoken promise of return.